Rowan, just give us a sort of insight really into how you've addressed the result at the weekend, first of all, please.
Yeah, we had a good chat after the game and spent a bunch of time together, which wasn't it was actually a really good thing. We planned to spend some time together in Perpignan on Sunday, and we ended up having a 5-hour delay at the end of that on the way home as well. So the players spent a lot of time together, and we debriefed it a little bit, but we also showed that connection and fact that we're all in it together by enjoying each other's company, even though it was a very tough and discomforting time at the same time. We've had yesterday off, and then we've been back in today to do a bit of debrief and to also get the ball rolling for the week ahead, and something that we're very, very much looking forward to finishing off the season strongly on Friday.
It's the manner of the scoreline. Is there anything that you need really to worry about, do you feel?
Well, I think everyone that's been in sport for a long period of time understands that on a bad day the score can really go against you. We've had a couple of those, but we're understaffed in some capacities. We've got a lot of players that are playing a lot of game time, being asked to do a lot more than they're probably ready for. But in that, it's providing much needed on the job experience and learning. We've had over trying was a bit of an issue the other day, and trying to fix it individually rather than staying collective and connected to the team. I think that was a great reminder, particularly on the weekend's performance, that we need to do it together and stay together. The attitude amongst the players towards each other was strong, which is very pleasing to hear, that they were critical of each other, but did it in a manner that they showed they were teammates.
Headlines are headlines at the end of the day, but I saw one in the wake of that result suggesting Leeds are a club in turmoil. I assume you take exception with something like that.
We're having a tough time with some performances on the field, but we've had a lot of development of younger players, middle of the road players, and some of our more senior players have really developed this season. We're excited about the group that we have, and with the addition of the ones we've already got and a few more additions to the group, we're excited about what the future holds. I think in any organisation you have some tough moments and some tough times, and even some of the teams that have been at the top end of the table, both in the NRL and in Super League, even this season, have had some really bruising defeats. So we regret some of the closer, hard-fought defeats that we've had that we probably should have won earlier in the year, where we maybe wouldn't be in this position. But I wouldn't say it's all doom and gloom. It's a tough couple of weeks, no doubt, but we're looking forward to this week and what's ahead beyond that.
How disappointed would you be if you didn't get that reaction this Friday?
Yeah, everyone's hurting. Everyone's disappointed with where the season is and the recent performances, but everyone really wants to get out there and give it a good crack on Friday. So that's all we ask, that we give it a good crack and play well together as a group, and enjoy this one last experience together as a 2023 squad.
Is it fair to say you owe Castleford one this year?
Yeah, we've had two really hard fought battles with them, and probably let ourselves down on both occasions there when we're in a decent position to get a result. But yeah, we know what those fixtures bring. The two performances last year that I was involved with were both really tough, hard fought games as well. So we expect nothing else, and we look forward to that battle on Friday.
Like you say, it's the last time for that group. Are you able to say which players will be playing for the final time on Friday in a Leeds shirt?
We haven't got too many options as far as making changes to our group. We've got some young kids that will come into the picture. We've got a few injury checks to follow through with tomorrow. So the makeup of our 21 is still to be determined, really.
There's been a suggestion today that Luke Hooley might be signing for Cass, the opponents on Friday. Is there anything in that?
Luke Luke will no doubt draw some interest, I would imagine, given that we've signed an established NRL fullback, and Luke was brought in to be a backup fullback, and he's done a commendable job, I think, in recent times in tough circumstances. So he's come in and he's done his job. If something happens there external, that'll be a conversation. But we're looking forward to Luke finishing the season strongly with us.
Any update or resolution to the Nene McDonald situation?
No, that one's ongoing. There hasn't been an update. I've checked in a few times regarding that one, but it's still a work in progress, and a resolution is getting closer is the only real update that I've had.
Just lastly from me, Rowan, obviously as you get to the end of your first full season in charge, I just wanted to ask you what might be the biggest lesson that you personally have learned or will take away from this year?
Oh, it's a good question. I've learned a lot and confirmed a lot as well. I think it's been a great year of overcoming obstacles and taking on challenges that go far beyond the opposition on a Friday night or a Sunday afternoon. There's been a lot of spanners in the works on a weekly basis. I know there is in every club, but I've been around for a good while at all different levels, and there's been more in this year than any other of my 20 years or so in professional sport, which has been good. It's been good to learn a lot about our individuals, our people. Our staff have been outstanding, supporting our group and overcoming obstacles, and the playing group that are with us now and still in the building, they've overcome a lot, and they've stuck together and taken some hard lessons on that'll put us all in good stead for life and sport down the track.
Just on Hooley, obviously you just discussed that there. Is it? I think the suggestion is that he's been told he can leave. Is that the case or not?
I'd be happy to have conversations behind closed doors with players that want to explore their opportunities, particularly when it's in a situation where we've recruited over the top of him essentially, and we've still got Richie Myler with us. So if something happens there, we'll have those conversations.
Does that apply to other players as well, who might be contracted?
We have conversations around not only the present but the future, and the way it works in sport now, when players are coming into their final year of their contract, sometimes they're looking for that early security. Even around this time of year, they're looking for their security of 2025 and beyond, and sometimes you can't give that to them, and sometimes it can work out in the best interest of the player and the club to move on. But those conversations haven't been had anytime recently.
Would you obviously you'd prefer to have those conversations now than during the season? It's been a disruption losing a few players as the season's gone on.
Yeah, that's a disruption, but it's where most of the attention goes from the media, is where players are signing and what's going to happen to your roster next week and next month and next year. And it's an ongoing thing. That's why recruitment and retention has basically become a 12-month of the year activity in the NRL and Super League because of that, partly because of the speculation and partly because of players and clubs' interest in securing their personal or the collective future. So there's no right time. Sometimes each situation is different.
Do you know when you'll have your squad sorted for next year? I would presume that pre-season will start in November, which obviously is not that far away. Will you have it all done by then, do you think?
We'd be close. We've got 3 or 4 more spots to fill, I believe, and those ones are bubbling away, and there could be some announcements soon on those ones. But as I said, things can happen at any point for us or for a player. So those conversations will be had if and when they're needed. But the plan, everyone would prefer to have their players all in situ on day one of pre-season. But with representative fixtures and whatnot, the reality is you usually don't have your group together until Christmas time or so.
There was some. I guess you've not seen Sky's coverage of the game from the other day, but there's some talk, discussion about Harry Newman afterwards, and some suggestion that some questioning of his attitude. I think in the wake of the sin binning, and obviously you'll have heard the England coach mention him last week and saying that if he was picking his England squad now, Harry wouldn't be in it. What's your view on that? Have you been happy with Harry since he's come back from injury? Obviously, he was out of action for a very long time.
Yeah, I haven't seen the stuff that you're talking about, and I thought the sin binning on the weekend wasn't correct. Harry made a tackle at the end of a break. Adam Kieran got involved in the tackle, and Sam Tompkins helped Harry to stay down. So it was an easy one where the score of the game and the result was never in doubt. So it was an easy one to sin bin when the crowd roared. But I think he's shown in that game his actual demeanour and behaviour towards everyone involved, players, referees. He was very mature, probably the best he has been, and he's made some real progress in the last couple of months. He cares a lot. He demonstrates that care, sometimes differently to how others of us do, and he shows some of his frustrations, but that kid tries hard, wants to do his best, and he's learning. And I think whenever he wants to own his errors and work on himself, like, that kid's got a big future. So what's happening outside of our walls, that's for those people to make comment. But Harry was, really trying to help his young teammates on the weekend, and being a young bloke himself, he was putting his arm around other guys and being really positive. And, even on Sunday when we were delayed, when everyone just wanted to get home and get into their own bed and see their loved ones, he was getting around and speaking to sponsors and just being a good leader. So the trip on the weekend wasn't his best performance on the field, but some of his actual actions that have been criticised in the past, he handled that part really well.
Are the players still together and tight as a unit? There's always accusations when things aren't going so well that about cliques and that sort of thing. Is it a case of everybody pulling together at the moment?
Yeah, I would say, after results like that, all of the players and staff sat around one table, one room on the weekend post-game without being asked to do so. It was just a choice, and people spent time with each other. And, sometimes after a big win or a big loss, people fracture off into their own little existence, where that was commendable to see. And, we're down on 4 or 5, injured season-ending injuries for experienced players, plus 4 players that aren't with us anymore. So you take 8 or 9 players out of someone's starting 17, and that's a big void. And the group that are together at the moment are very much together, and they're learning some hard lessons together, as we all are. As I said, I've got a lot of faith and belief in all of these guys as individuals. Next year will be a new team. This Friday is about getting out there and connecting with each other and playing as hard as we can together against the local rivals.
Could any of those injured players be back this week? I think Caesar, Bentley, Myler, any of those?
Nope.
Could there be anyone back this week?
Sam Walters.
Sam, right? Yeah, from
1 week, as far as I know. They didn't find a charge from the weekend. So,
how's Leon? Rohan?
Yeah, he's got a sore elbow that's had a scan, and he's off to see a specialist, but he's likely to have surgery on his elbow later in the week or early next week.
Do you like what you've seen from him I think he's played 4 successive games?
Yeah, I do. He's played 5 games, I think, overall, but 4 in a row. And He's a tremendous kid. He's hardly missed a session. He came on trial basically last year while he was still playing for Doncaster. He trains well, he's very accountable. Post game, he's straight home to watch the game again and review it and send through his thoughts. He's that kind of guy. He's very committed to his footy. He's developed. He's gone from being, not making the cut at Wakey, being a bit overweight. He went away and did some work on himself, went to Doncaster, fought through that. And, I think he's got a big future at the Rhinos. It's a bit of a setback for him now, but he's also accomplished a lot this season.
And last thing from me, you mentioned obviously you had the delay coming back. I think some fans were delayed overnight. You've probably heard about that. I think there was a good turnout in Catalan of Leeds fans. What would your message be to the fans that attended on Saturday and fans who were maybe thinking about, shall we go on Friday night? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think if you're a fan, you're a fan. That doesn't change based on the performance. You stick with your team. I'm an Arsenal fan. That's been me since day one. And I've had some great times and some tough times, but I still remember, living in Australia, you get up at 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or whatever you have to do to follow your team, regardless of what happened last week. So that's always been my thing. I share their disappointment. There was a great crowd. They were making a lot of noise throughout the game, which was great. I'm sure the delay or the cancelled flights might have been good for some. They get to enjoy France for another day. Maybe tough for some other people. So I respect everyone for making that journey to support us. And I know it's tough for some people to take, but you keep following your team, and we'll be out there to do our best on Friday and then look for a big preseason to get back on track next year.
Well, that's something I didn't know about you, the Arsenal fan. Why is that?
My dad was a Arsenal fan as I was a baby. He would get up in the middle of the night to feed me on the days Arsenal were playing, I think. So, I just took that over and have been fortunate enough to live over here 5 times and be able to go experience, Highbury and Emirates and stuff. So it's always stuck with me.
Just on Aidan's season, I think you mentioned it a few weeks ago that sport, but it would be a shame that he's not going to get his farewell game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Aidan and I have had a good relationship for a long time, back to our Titans days. And even when I was at the Roosters a long time ago, I was pushing for them to recruit him while I was there. So I followed his journey a long way, and I'll continue to follow it next year at the Tigers. It's a shame he doesn't get a last game at Headingley to sort of say goodbye. But as it is with sport, that's the nature. So yeah, we wish him well and thank him for his efforts.
Just on the sort of development side, you mentioned development quite a lot and the youth coming through and the youngsters. Is that something that you've played a big part in other clubs you've worked at and in Queensland Cup sort of a couple of years ago?
Yeah, that's how I started off coaching at the Warriors under Daniel Anderson. He and Tony Kemp gave me a responsibility to help develop young players. And then at each club I've been at, I've always had a developmental focus a lot. At the Newcastle Knights, definitely, I coached under 20s there. And then at the Roosters, I did a lot with their under 18s and under 20s. It's something that I'm passionate about and very experienced at. And, been well regarded in that respect at all the clubs that I've been at previously. So we've got a great youth set up here that John Bastion's running. So my role here is to support and encourage and foster the development of those players rather than all of the hands-on work that maybe I've done in the past. But it's something I value, and I think it's the only way to build a club that's sustainable is to have it from within. So that's part of the process at the moment.
The proof is there, isn't it? That the most successful teams like the Leeds and the Wiggins are the ones that promote from within and develop those kind of players rather than always buying in, for example.
Yeah, well, St Helens have done that. Penrith are in the prime of that at the moment. The Broncos are recruited a couple of key players to go with players that have come through their system. In the past, the Warriors have done that successfully. Parramatta era of 10 or 12 years where they were at the top, they were developing from within. It's the way for You know, as some coaches will talk about, particularly in the NFL, they talk about base camp and being able to get to base camp each year and then having to go at getting to the top of the peak each, you know, when it all lines up. That's the aim, and that's the vision for the future.
And finally, just one more on Harry Newman. Obviously, you said that you've not seen the critics of what Sky said, but I would say that you have full belief that Leeds Rhinos is the right club for him to get the best out of him, which we might have not seen in recent years because of injuries, disciplinary and stuff like that. But Leeds Rhinos is the right club to bring the best out of him and get him in the picture for the likes of England in the future.
Yeah, I think, you know, our priority is to get Harry and the team playing as well as we can, and then he can showcase all of his abilities. Harry and I have got an excellent relationship. He's got a good relationship with his teammates, and he's like all of us. We've got things that we need to improve on, and he's working hard on some stuff. And in the game on the weekend, he had every reason to, you know, get a bit frustrated, but he actually, I thought he did well in lots of regards. And as I mentioned, I thought the sin binning was a classic case of milking, and it was an easy one to give.